My Hero Academia chapter 415 Rejection has confirmed a major all-for-one and Shigaraki theory to be correct. That being, all-for-one was actually the one who gave Tenko Shimura his decay quirk. As in the chapter when Deku succeeds in transferring the next piece of One For All to Shigaraki, further prying at the mental scar within him, we see a new memory from Shigaraki manifest in their surroundings. This memory shows a young Tenko Shimura being taken home by a man in a suit, that man being All For One. But wait! How does this memory confirm the theory when we don't actually get to see the face of the man in the suit at all in the chapter? Well, the man in the suit has actually appeared a couple times in the story already via flashbacks. And not just any flashbacks, flashbacks surrounding two of the biggest My Hero Academia villains in the series. The first being in the very beginning of Tenko, aka Shigaraki's origin story in chapter 235, where a man in a suit and hat drops Tenko off at his house. And in chapter 415, we specifically see Tenko and the man moments prior to Tenko being dropped off at home. And as we know, All For One has always known that Shigaraki was the grandson of Nana Shimura, which is what made him specifically go after him as a child. So it would make sense for Tenko's origin to start the day he gets dropped off at home by the man in the suit, because it just so happens that on that day he gets dropped off is when he began to first start getting the itch, something that Tenko's mother didn't know what was causing Tenko's itching allergies, and that's because All For One on their way to Tenko's home secretly gave a quirkless Tenko Shimura his first ever quirk. Then, as he was dropping him off, he deliberately made it clear to his mother that Tenko had caused some trouble by playing hero outside, due to knowing the family's connection to Nana Shimura and the hate for heroes her son Kotaro has, led to Tenko's father beating him, beginning the start of Tenko's dry and itchy skin and the domino effect that would eventually lead to the birth of Shigaraki. But was Tenko really quirkless before All For One had taken Tenko back home? Yes. On the day Tenko was beaten by Kotaro, Kotaro specifically states that Tenko was 5 years old and still hadn't manifested a quirk yet. As we know, 4 years old is the age when quirks manifest within children. Of course, given a few outliers of the quirk being present at birth or being a late bloomer, it's unsure whether or not Tenko has the extra joint in his pinky toe to officially confirm that he's quirkless. But Kotaro mentioning this tells us that at least prior to All For One dropping him off, Tenko was quirkless. And what do we see the day Tenko gets dropped off? A panel metaphorically showing something within him activating and growing. Decay being given to him most likely took the route One For All did with Deku, where upon eating the hair, it needed time to be digested for Deku to be able to use his quirk. As it took Tenko seemingly a few days for his quirk to fully get a hold of his body for him to use it after it being transferred to him by All For One. Now, I did mention earlier that this was the first time we've seen the man in the suit. The second time we see him is during Dabi, aka Toya's origin story, where it's really made clear that the man in the suit and hat is actually All For One, since on the day that Toya had accidentally set himself on fire, we see a man in a suit and hat walk out of the flames over a cooked up Toya to collect him and take him to a facility where he kept Toya and other children as potential replacements in case something were to happen to Shigaraki. Side note, that whole secret facility thing really does make me wonder if Dabi had never burned it to the ground and All For One never got violated by All Might, would Eri have been taken there given her tragic background with the Hasaikai and molded into a villain? I also wonder if any of those other kids made it out without the knowledge of All For One knowing. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. The man in the suit and hat's appearance in the origin stories of two of the biggest villains in My Hero Academia proves that All For One is the man in the suit. And thanks to chapter 415, this confirms that he is All For One, meaning that All For One had truly given Shigaraki his decay quirk. And it just makes perfect sense. All For One is known for planning ahead into the future and also getting into his opponent's head, going after All Might's master's grandson just to mess with him, and then going after Endeavor's son to inevitably use him against him, the two strongest pro heroes that could actually pose a challenge to him, all I gotta say is the man takes pride in emotionally and mentally damaging his greatest foes. Like, seriously, who let this man cook? With that said, let me know your thoughts on the theory in the comment section below, as well as letting me know whether or not that this chapter confirms that All For One had given Shigaraki decay and that Shigaraki was actually quirkless the entire time. If you liked the video, then be sure to Detroit smash that like button down below, and if you're new, consider subscribing to the Kidaroki channel for more My Hero Academia content. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.